Katie Lasky is on the Zoom. Everyone, get ready because she's going to rock the house. I'm going to pull up one quick introduction. Actually, I don't have her introduction because she doesn't need a formal introduction. She is a one-of-a-kind unicorn, unique, magical being full of love bomb. And she's been on the show before. She rocked it. She's amazing, and she's inspiring, and she challenges everyone around her to play even more, to have even more fun, to live even more in the present moment. She's a speaker. She's amazing, and she just ignites people's souls everywhere. Katie, are you ready to rock the house?
I am.
She is. Awesome. Katie, you are now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self.
How are you?
Amazing, and even more amazing all the time.
Awesome. Where's your burn it up behind you thing?
It is at San Diego. I'm in Las Vegas.
Got it. I was like, wait, something's missing.
I love it. So we are going to have a lot of fun on this interview. You've been on before. You are always just a riot, and a good riot, a good emotional, energetic, uplifting, inspirational call to be our greatest possible self riot. And we are going to dive into the theme of the day, which is upgrade your questions. So Katie, how do you upgrade your questions? How does that process work for you? How have you upgraded your questions to really shift your perspective on reality and create the life that you desire?
Well, so a huge part of what I did with upgrading questions and just getting clear on questions is not being afraid of any of them. Not labeling them, not defining them, not having not having like a certain emotional response or physical response to them, and then not saying like, okay, that one I don't want to do because I didn't respond, or like that felt negative to me. I take it and it is what it is, and I feel how I feel, and then I get to like the meat of it and figure out not only what is the answer to the question, but what is all the like chaos or like beauty that came up with the question. For me, I found it through a lot of trauma and tragedy. Like when things happen, instead of people asking me how I'm feeling or how they can help or what does it feel like to go through it, people want to fix you so quickly, and no one asks questions. No one wants to know anything because that's a place of like vulnerability and fear for them and discomfort and like ugliness or any of that. And so through my life, not having those questions has made me like so fiercely dedicated to asking questions constantly. So like that's what led me into a world of coaching, was that it's open-ended questions. It's believing that everyone has answers within them and asking them and asking people things that no one's ever taken the time to ask because they're scared of it. So instead of like going through a tragedy and someone saying to me, like, oh, it was meant to happen, or it's karma, or it's God's will, or whatever like that. It's just like, do you want to know what it feels like? Like it feels, really crappy. And then like, what about it feels crappy? And getting to do that and getting to explore that has set me so free and has made all of my stages of either grieving or healing or whatever I'm going through, has made all of those stages so much more impactful, where I'm not only healing my pain, but I'm growing other people. I'm encouraging people to be authentic. I'm encouraging people to be transparent, and I'm giving other people the courage. So instead of like this one question then allowing me to heal, it's a ripple effect. And the power behind a ripple effect, when it's positive, when its intention is so pure, is unstoppable. You know what I mean? Like it's the same force as Mother Nature, which is like insane. And we have that within us, but only when we're willing to answer those questions and ask them. Yeah. Oh, I miss you.
When you're saying Mother Nature, I was like, I think most people, when they say Mother Nature, they think about Earth, the planet Earth. And I'm like, yeah, that, and there's like stars that are a trillion, a quadrillion, septillion, whatever numbers, crazy numbers that we can't even fathom, times bigger than the Earth. And there's planets, there's the suns, there's stars, there's black holes, there's all this amazing stuff that we can't even fathom. There's dimensions and stuff that
Well, have you ever tried to go like surfing? The power of the ocean, the power of a wave, the power of like a current and the tide is just unstoppable. And that's like what we have within us, but we're so scared of it because we don't know what to do with it, or we don't want to own the power that we have within us. But Mother Nature never questions herself. You know, like that ocean doesn't apologize for who it is, even if it takes you under and like makes me cry while I get stuck in my leash on my surfboard and I'm like, I don't want to do this again. Like that, it doesn't apologize for how big it is, and it doesn't apologize for what it's bringing to the table. And that's what I feel like if we mimicked what Mother Nature does, if we knew to like let go when we're supposed to, like, you know, like a tree will grow and get the leaves, and then the leaves change color, and then they fall, and then snow will come, and then it breaks the branches, like all of those transitions. And we're like, we don't even want to go through them. We don't want to ask, why is this happening? We don't ask, what can I do with this? Like when I had gone through all the trauma of this past year with like the ruptured ectopic and lost my twins, instead of being so mad or whatever, I had to ask, what is it about pregnancy and what is it about motherhood that I really desire? Because I can live into those values every single day, even though I don't have the twins here. So like, what is it that I value about those? You know, and it's like finding that. So if you trust the process, just like Mother Nature, nature trusts the seasons, it trusts everything that's going on. If we trust the journey and let go. I just watched your last episode when you were like attachment versus commitment, which I know we are both totally on board with. If we let go of that attachment to having an end goal and just commit to the journey of it and the process of it, it's huge, but it all begins with being open to be in our power and being open to receive and ask questions that are like absolutely terrifying.
What question have you been terrified of taking on recently?
Probably, spicy. Probably a question that I've been asking myself or that people have asked me. What are you drinking? You usually have a Monster. Did you get something healthy? I am so,
kombucha. I was going to ask you, do you
I'm really
kombucha?
proud of you. Wait, so something that I asked myself or someone else?
I would say it's just whatever you have been uncomfortable in really taking on a question, whether it's you asking yourself or someone else asking you, like an area of your life that you don't like looking at, terrified to kind of investigate and see like what's behind that.
Oof. Definitely. No questions asked. It would be, not will I be okay, because then it's my choice to be okay, but I think the question kind of surfaces, and the first is, will I be okay if I don't get to be a parent with humans in this realm? Like, and will I do everything that I can, that it takes to try to create that life? So like, the whole commitment versus attachment. Like if I'm committed to doing every single thing I can in my power and it doesn't happen, then at least I fought like hell to get there. You know, like I fought for so many years, 25 years, all these diseases and terminal and all this different stuff. So my body could be healthy enough one day. And what would it look like to fight like hell in that way? Like what do I have to do today now to make my body strong enough, to make my mind healed through the grieving and stuff like that? And those questions are really uncomfortable because it's not just me. And I don't know if you know, but you don't make a baby by yourself. So it's like these other things, like these decisions now affect other people or what I have in my life or what I call in. And then because I had to have, you know, part of my system removed and I need to have the aid of science involved and stuff because of it. There's so many more different things, and money, it's an astronomical amount of money for a lot of the procedures. So there's a different elements, but if I put away the how and I put away the when and I just focus on like the why, which is what I have control on, creating that is a really difficult and uncomfortable question, but super empowering, and then makes me, no matter what happens, if my life at any point was to end, I would have been in major intentional action towards something I desired. And so I think those are probably the most challenging questions. And knowing that what I'm doing, everything I do is planting a seed to then be what I need to be again, to get there. And so those questions are scary. And now I just declared them on the World Wide Web. And yeah, so that's probably the scariest. And then what lets me do them is like focusing on why do I want that? And it's like the values that I would have wanted to teach the twins and stuff. And so like every day, every morning, I used to just do like my grateful list and my meditation and my tapping and stuff. And now each day I go through like a list and I look at all the things that I valued about motherhood or like parenthood and stuff. And I think like, okay, I would have taught compassion. How am I going to be compassionate today? I would have taught to be in service of others. I would have taught patience. I would have taught like honesty and responsibility and, just like all, and I have a whole list of 18 things that I found out were things that I valued about that experience. And I live into those every single day. So I have a list where most people have like a grocery list and they're like, I need butter and stuff like that. Because I don't live a normal eating life. I have a list of just words of like balance and love and stuff like that. And I make sure every single day that I am living into those. And even if like, it's like 9:00 at night and I realize I have 3 things I didn't check off, then I will do something to step into those, because those are things that I value in that experience and in that role. And because I don't have that role, I can still live them and keep those values lit up, and keep them alive. So there's things I do, like those are the questions that are uncomfortable. And then because I don't know the when or the how, and I don't want to attach to an end goal, because that's when I get super dark.
Yeah.
If I don't reach it, right, how I thought that I should. It's having these daily things where I'm in action that keep me afloat and that keep me on purpose.
Yeah, and it's like law of attraction kind of thing is if you are becoming the mother that you desire to be, like those things will naturally come into you because you'll like trust yourself and be that space of calling in, the children or child or whatever it might be, because you're like, yeah, I do this every day. This is who I am. Boom. Of course I'm going to have a kid. Of course it's going to work out perfect. Of course, it's just like shifting that identity, and that's so awesome that every day you can take steps and take actions to do that. So I'm curious, for our listeners out there, what's a way that you could kind of transmute this philosophy into more of like a personal development or entrepreneurial mindset? What would you recommend, like with becoming, the mom of your dreams, so to speak? How could you transition that and explain that to our audience to be entrepreneurial or more of building a great life, a great legacy?
Can you ask that? Can you ask that in a different way?
Yes. Based on what you just shared.
Yes.
You take certain actions daily to become the person that you want to be for having a kid. How do you teach that same philosophy, that same paradigm to an entrepreneur? What process would they go through? What would you recommend that they focus on?
So when I do it, and what I do with coaching, because obviously not everyone has the same goals. And for me, like I did all the stuff, like you were just saying, when you call it in and you have all that, I did all of that to be infertility and then still had something traumatic happen. So it's like, you can do every vision board and letter and declaration and everything and call in something, and something still can go wrong because life happens. So first, just getting really clear with people about like what speaks to them the greatest, like what is like, like when they think of different feelings, when they think of different things, when something is really like dark or really excited, what is that one thought that gets them out of it or gives them like a glimmer in their eye, and focusing on something like that. So that's like your passion, your fuel, your purpose, like finding out that, and then really it's like mining away, like dissecting and figuring out what is it about that supports your belief system. Like, what is your belief system? What do you believe in? What do you value? And then really figuring out the parts, like, what do you value about life? What do you value about yourself? What do you value about like your friends and family? And who you are in a workplace or how you see this world and what you could do. And for myself, I always, when I do it, when I work with clients, is we come up with so many different words. As they talk, it's just a free flowing, and they'll talk and share. And I write down things that come up once, and then the minute they come up a second time, I circle them. So it's like, like if you had different things, there was a woman that really like believed strongly in needing to be validated, and not in the way of being like a victim or having self-pity. She just like, if you had validation, what could you do? If you had that freedom to know that something's hard, but you have a tribe with you to get through it, then you might fight harder. And she had talked about validation in so many different ways, not saying the word necessarily, but the same thing. And every single time she says, so I write down the words or the themes that come up and different things that people talk about. When they have rising inflection, like at the end of the sentences when they're sharing, I write down those thoughts and those themes. And then if they share it again, circle. And so I have a system where when I'm coaching that I track it, and then we really look at it and we look at like, okay, these are the things that like you spoke out a lot. You can like confirm or deny, but these are things that clearly when you are just free and flowing, when your subconscious is talking, when you've checked out of your head and you're in your heart and you're just coming at me for no other reason but to answer this woman's question, to get her off your back, like what comes out. And people they're super surprised. Like they'll come on, you coach, and it'll be like, what do you want to coach on today? And then the coaching session is nothing about.
Right.
And it's because like when we're in our head, we'll stop ourselves from, like I didn't want to answer those uncomfortable questions at first for myself. And I didn't want to, just with anything, with jobs or with partners, like you don't want to ask certain questions. Well, that will then make you take uncomfortable, actionable steps sometimes because it's easier to stay frozen in discomfort because discomfort and you don't know what's unknown on the other side. So I do that. Then I also do a lot of times, I think it's really powerful to make a list. And so I do like 6 to 12 people. So who are you spending your most time with? Who's in your life that you're around a lot? And it's not necessarily who you want to be or who grows you or anything. It's just like, okay, like I work at this place. And so these people I have to be with, like these are the 6 people. And then like, oh, my girlfriend or my boyfriend or, like different things like that. And you build it up. And then you make a list. If you could spend time with 6 to 12 people, no job, no life, no boundaries, like for location, who would they be? And then I really look at it and I'm like, okay, what are non-negotiables? Like if you were going to work in an office and you have to share an office with someone, that's a non-negotiable. That person is there. Right. So then building a system that's like 6 and 6. So it's like 6 people that you want more of. And then 6 kind of like, I have to. It's like your mom or your dad, and then like people you work with and stuff like that. And then when you put it going through all of them, and I really pick like, what are the 3 things that I value about Chris Burns? Like, how does she show up that I really admire? And then when you realize that you see those qualities in other people, being able to do the mirror from them. Why are those qualities that I think are the most important about you? Because they might not be your most passionate things, but it's because there's something in my life that's either like mirroring them or I'm craving them or I need more of them because they matter to me. So then I use other people in our world to not only get these other values and these things that are important to you, but then bringing them together so you can actually have a look at like, wow, I'm spending time around a lot of people that are also toxic or not serving me. And how can I call in more of these people who are my tribe and are my people? And I'm not going to just say, oh, I live here, so I have to spend time with these people. Now I'm going to intentionally design a life where like I meet with Chris Burns and a couple other people and we're on Zoom every week. Like you create it and then you call in more of what you're looking for. And so with all of those things, without living into all those values and really identifying the values, when you know what they are, when you've declared them, then it's your choice on how am I going to live into them, step into them, challenge them, confirm them, grow them. And then you have this whole space, but you have like, it's like a whole big soup. Like you get this whole, like big bowl of all these different words and all these different themes and things that come up. And from that place, you can create a life where you're constantly ignited no matter what's happening. Because around me, there's chaos. And within my body, a lot of my diseases, there's chaos. But the one thing that I can control is how much what I love and desire and have passion for is brought into my day. Mm-hmm. So that's like an exercise that I do with them. That's how I kind of get clear. And then we do the work and stuff from that place. But until you know at the core what excites you, and we think we do, but then when I ask questions, if people can't answer me, if it's like hard to answer, like why does being responsible matter to you? And people are like, well, just because it should. That there's nothing backing it. So like, I want to know more. I'm going to dig deeper. I'm going to dig deeper. Like what? And there's no right or wrong. It's just like, if that's what you're passionate about, awesome. Mm-hmm. You know, like, which is, for me, comes up a lot with like, when people want to talk politics or something. And I'm just like, I don't care if you are passionate about what you're passionate about, that's all I care about. Like, we don't have to discuss anything. We don't have to know each other's anything. If you are passionate and committed and it moves you, that's a house phone.
What's that?
But if you have, if you have all of that, then the rest just will be in flow. And then you are on purpose. And then God forbid something happened, I know that if something happens, if I leave the house and I get in an accident and I don't make it or something, I lived stepping into and owning my values and my morals, and my, was living out my beliefs so fully. And so I don't let anything go by. I can't control the things happening necessarily. I can manifest, I can visualize, I can do everything, but I've still had trauma happen even with that. And then I don't want to get caught up in the blame or the what ifs or the if onlys because that can come up, or if I didn't do this back then, or if I only loved myself sooner, and stuff like that. But so who can I be right now? And when I live from those places, I'm unstoppable.
Love it. I love it. What's a new paradigm shift that you've been discovering recently that you want to share with everyone?
Oh, I don't know if this fits, but I'm going to just share this because this is what I want to share.
Go for it.
So recently I've noticed that the more I share, when I share totally authentic, vulnerable, and transparent, I did my first Facebook Live ever in June from a super broken place, a day out of the surgery and all that, and got 12,000 views on it. When you are real, when you are and that was my first one. I was 5 people will tune in or something. And it was crazy. But so many people showed up, and I'll support, not one troll comment. I was that's impossible in today's world. So that was really incredible. 800 something messages came in, just all this stuff. So I do believe strongly in showing up in an authentic, vulnerable, transparent way where I'm in integrity and alignment to my heart. Mm-hmm. But what I have noticed now is a lot of people are uncomfortable with me discussing things that happen. And I get now I've been getting a few messages and they're just hey, if you need to just pray away your illnesses, or you need to pray away this, and I'm not knocking religion. That's just the most recent message. But it's just these different things. If you just did this and it could be gone, right. If you just believe that. And so I want to bring to the table, and this has been the shift is wow, people are so uncomfortable with me having a label of a disease when I'm not my disease. I'm not the label. I'm not digestive tract paralysis. I'm not 5 organs removed. That. Those are things. You have a shirt on. I have a jean jacket on. Those are just things. Those are just, okay, it just is. Yeah. And so now it's been or these people in the way of talking about questions, since that's the theme, people who won't ask the questions and they just immediately want to tell me why it happened. It was God's will. It was this, it was that. And so I want to challenge, my belief has been, and what I'm going to speak more about is that what if not everything happens for a reason? But if it's our choice, if we want to make something of it, but what if it just happens because it happens? And what if, and why can't I just share about having a disease when the disease doesn't define me? When I was shamed by my disease, when I shamed myself for having tube feedings, or, people who have colostomy bags and G tubes and all this stuff, when I stayed quiet because I was afraid that I wouldn't be loved, or I wouldn't be desired by a man, or that I would get dropped by my agent when I was a performer, which I did once they found out. So there's some truth to it. But like when I was shamed about it, I never was living my truth. And then now that I speak it, it makes people uncomfortable because they want to like fix you immediately, or they just want it to be, it's almost like other people have such limiting beliefs about that. If you say something and you're talking about it, then you are how they view it, like disease. Oh, you're broken and you're a burden and you're damaged and you're diseased. And I'm not any of those. So like, yeah.
I'm curious, does it come from more of a place of like uncomfortability, and the ego's like uncomfortable. It's like, ooh, I can't even imagine what that's like, oh my gosh. So I'm going to go to the most rational thing of what I could like offer to take the perspective off of empathy of what it might be like, and like sit there in that with you and feel it. And just like be like, solution, bam, just do that. And the solution mindset is like pleasure,
right.
Solution, because I don't want to be in this uncomfortability anymore. Yes,
that's exactly where it's from. And so on the receiving end of it all the time, it's extremely frustrating. And I don't feel like you and I just recently had a conversation about meditation and silent meditation. And the reason why that kind of work is so powerful to me is because I constantly feel like I need to validate why I made the decision to talk about things I've gone through. So if I talk about my disease, I'm not my disease. I'm not why me. I'm not angry about it. I don't feel less than someone else because of it. I talk about it so that other people who have it will know it's okay to talk about it, and they'll see what I've created while talking about it. And when I talked about like my fiance's suicide and stuff, there's people who don't want to talk about it or don't want to do it, and so they'll come up with something. But by someone's action to so quickly shut down my experience and my truth, it feels, in my experience, feels like it's an indirect way of not supporting me, or actually making what I'm going through wrong, or how I'm experiencing it wrong, or that they're not approving of what I'm doing in something. And I don't need any of that, but then what do I do? So I receive these messages, and I actually, the one I just received, and I love the person who sent it. And I with gratitude, let them know, thank you, that there are so many people who get caught up in what they're experiencing and become what they're experiencing. And that's a very common thing to happen, especially like when I lived in the hospital, that you're consumed by it. Yeah. That's your reality. And I was so young, that's all I knew for so long. For 25 years, like I've been in and out of hospitals. And so if that's what you know, but if you watch me and you listen to me, even on my bad days, I show up, but I'm owning what I'm experiencing for the purpose of showing someone that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be together. You can be messy. And it doesn't make me a less impactful coach. It makes me like stronger because I'm willing to go there. You're the same way. When you share such like bold, vulnerable things, that people will be like, oh my God, no, you have to be like, oh, I'm making this much money and I'm doing this well. I have all these clients and blah, blah. And it's like, no, be you, because that's what's going to draw me in. Yeah. And so when people send these messages and they're like, I just think you really need to get out of it. You need to stop posting about, and I don't even post that much about it. It's that my picture has it. So if people comment, then they'll re-see my picture and all the words about like that stuff. But someone has to take a stand, and someone has to be the voice to be like, yeah, these things are happening to us. And if you're scared of me because of them, look into why, or spend time with me, or ask to call me up and tell me why being sick is scary to you. Because I'm not judging you for being there. I'm judging you for trying to just tell me to like pray it all away. And then that also, if someone tells me if I like manifest it or want it to go away, then that means that something's wrong. Like if I need my illness to be gone, something's wrong with me that I need to extract or take away. But if I'm just complete and whole how I am, and then a miracle happens and I get cured, awesome, I'm totally down for that. Yeah. But if I'm not, who am I? What am I capable despite it? And that's where I feel like the empowered way is. And I feel like when people come and don't ask questions and just say something and solve it, and then don't want to be vulnerable with you because they're worried you're going to go into like a victim mindset or something, which is common for a lot of our society. But if they're worried and they don't even let you go there or let you feel something, like that wouldn't be human if you weren't upset after you got a diagnosis or you went through a tragedy or you found your lover after they shot themselves. Like if you weren't emotionally distraught, you also need to look at that. Like that's not normal to be that disconnected. And so my new movement now is to encourage people to be in the discomfort, like to sit in the discomfort and see what's possible, like what is possible for either someone's awareness to open and for me to have more compassion towards those people. Because right now there's definitely like a initial reaction that's just like, are you kidding me again? Like, and I don't want to have that reaction to them. But I also don't want to have to explain myself, which is why silent meditation is so nice, because you just are.
And it's interesting. I'm curious because when we attract stuff, when we get triggered, it's because we attracted it because of our energy was not healed and complete around whatever is getting triggered. So there's people who get triggered by not being able to empathize with other people. And then there's people who, like in your case, who might get triggered by these people coming along constantly, offering these unwarranted suggestions and solutions.
And it's not, and this is not a dig either at MLMs, but the people that have written me, when they see that I have like a disease, and then they'll tell me how their stuff will cure me and stuff, but they've never asked me about my disease. They don't even know what I'm going through. And so, but they're like, but Shakeology will fix it, or this will fix it. And I have no problem if you are passionate about your product. Right. But respect the life, like respect the person and get to know me and build rapport and have all that before you send that stuff out. So I definitely, that's definitely would be like a trigger when I get those messages. I'm just like, I have to take a deep breath. And because I feel like there's a lack of value of what someone's experiencing and someone's just pushing a product. And that's what it feels like. Because often then when I do give the time and the space, there's no questions asked about me or what my body is going through or like, what helps me have relief in the past or anything like that. It's just an immediate thing. And it's all of these, like it will come in like a Facebook message and it's just all of these things about how everything can help, but they don't even know what I'm going through. Yeah. And so I feel like that, so there is so much room for me to grow in a way of like receiving it and also like releasing it.
Turning it into a gift. Like how do you take that energy and be like, ooh, thank you. Let me grow some plants.
At first I was like, I can educate everyone about my disease now. Because like you tell me about your product and I will tell you about digestive diseases. But sometimes that's even too much time. Like life is too precious for me to do that. Yeah. So now I've just really found a way to like thank them for thinking of me. And I'm glad that like I came up and, if they ever want to know about like what I'm going through or help spread the word about stuff like that, like, and I just, make an offer and so I've been finding different ways to do that. But what I would really love and like what I want to create now is like a way to create something where like we dive into and embrace and like get messy in the discomfort and like how to make that okay. And like I already, live my life, which like kind of is messy. Cause I just do. Like I don't wait till I'm ready. I don't wait till things are perfect. At all. I'm so grateful for the moment and I don't know if I'll have another moment. So I'm just like all in, here we go. All in. I'm committed. I'm ready. I'm on the court. I'm playing. I'm here. And that's who I am. And it doesn't matter what I look like. Because if I waited till I was ready, then I'm not going to ever leave the house. I'm not going to be ready because there's going to be something I always need to grow or learn or tweak or, so just being in that space. And I want to, and I don't know the how yet, but like if I could like create a way or like do lives or do something more where it's like a conversation, where people would come in and do that. And so on my podcast, I actually just put out to a bunch of people, women who, while I was going through my grieving, were also pregnant and had babies that maybe I didn't respond to in the best light. I'm very grateful. I'm super happy. I was stoked. I loved everything. I gave really cute baby gifts. But I was jealous of them and stuff. And so that's a really uncomfortable conversation. And so that's one of the ones I'm just waiting now for some of the people to decide if they're willing to do it. And then if they were doing it, having it on my Happy Catastrophe podcast and sitting and being in that, where like, I have to admit to people like, yeah, I was really jealous. And like that, how it felt wrong. Like it felt wrong to be jealous of my friends, but I wasn't jealous. I was jealous of their experience going smoothly. I wasn't mad that they were having a healthy pregnancy. You know what I mean? And people are so quick to judge it, because I was like, oh, like if I saw someone and I unfollowed people, and I had one friend who was very upset and didn't like my choice to not go over and meet the baby right away. And I just said, it was like 2 months after what I went through, I just got enough bed rest and it was just too much for me. And I need to protect myself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like, and it didn't serve me.
Right.
And I knew what I was doing was right by my heart. I knew what I was doing was like in integrity to who I am. I knew my thoughts were fine. My actions were fine. My the words spoken were I was really proud of. So there was nothing out of it. So I can't control that other way. So now I'm trying to do a lot more podcast episodes where it will be difficult conversations, and like like things that are messy or uncomfortable or different things like that. But I really want to create like that movement, because now I know more and more people are so uncomfortable with my acceptance of my diseases and stuff. And I don't know if they hear the word disease and that shuts them down, or where the limiting beliefs are from everyone else, or if they're experienced, but to just grow from that place where like, if you ask a question or like, what's uncomfortable about it? Or, because I know most of the time it's people's desire for me to feel better, or desire for me to live this life I deserve, that they think I deserve, that they don't want me to be sick or something like that. But it doesn't hold me back. You know what I mean? Like I do things differently. I obviously eat differently. I have to go to the bathroom differently. Like there's a lot of things that I do different compared to the rest of the world. But I still live a life that's like more fiercely alive than
yes, you freaking do.
90% of the people we know, because I also have the awareness that life can just be taken. You know, so it's like I don't know why, and I guess it will just be more and more reaching out to people that have messaged to me like, hey, there's such a gift for me to learn what's underneath your discomfort or your need to fix me. And not me like personality, but your need to fix what you see as wrong on paper. And I mean, on paper, I'm a disaster, like medically, debt-wise, medical bills and stuff like that. But what's underneath all of that makes them so uncomfortable, because I'm empowered by it. And then stepping in and asking those difficult questions and having to sit with people who have at one point triggered me is such a gift. And then a gift to other people to how do you grow? How do you like get to know more and then grow more with the people in your life? And so there's so much opportunity, and I guess it's just like stepping into it. But it's been really hard to find people who want to own up to that part, because I'm coming with such confidence on my end that it actually is making people, well, I'll share something or I'll write something, but I don't feel comfortable going live or, being recorded and stuff like that. So it's funny that they'll write these like bold things at me, and then the minute I want to confront them or where they come from, then no one's showing up. So that's my like next huge step, is like finding those people and sitting down with both of our experiences and our perspectives, and challenging those perspectives, and not to confirm them, not to be right or wrong, but to hear both of them and then see how we can merge them together to then shift the next person. And the whole ripple effect we talked about at the beginning, having that for all, like for all these other things, like suicide doesn't need to have a stigma to it. And my illnesses don't need to have a stigma. And by me talking about them, what's so uncomfortable for you to receive that you think that I can't talk about it anymore, or that it needs to be fixed? Because the minute you're telling me I need to decide something's gone, that means that there's something I need to extract from my life that's not okay.
Right.
And that's not true at all.
Right. Shamika said people don't understand how it feels when people only interact with you based on thing you have, rather it's disease or disability in Shamika's case. So let me read that again. People don't understand how it feels when people only interact with based on the thing that you have, Rather, it's disease or disability in my case. Shamika, can you reword that?
Clarify that, please.
I was trying to like get it while you were talking. I'm like, I had no idea. Maybe if I read it out loud. Shamika, rewrite that, please. But I think it's like people don't understand how it feels when others relate to you as the disease, like you're talking about, or as the disability in Shamika's case. So, how do we spread more compassion about that? How do me, for example, how do I step into my compassion and non-judgment and love and unconditional love and like surrender to how people are versus wanting to fix things or like having a solution?
Well, I think one of the first things is if you had a reaction to something, owning it and then right away trying to figure out like what it is, or just discussing it, be like, hey, there's something that I like resist about you, or there's something that you shared that made me feel a certain way, and know that by you speaking up, even if it makes someone uncomfortable for a second, you're actually speaking up because you desire to know more. And someone who's like me, or someone who wants this truth to be heard, who's not in the victim mindset, is going to be so grateful that you're asking, or like, hey, I'm resisting you right now. I'm pulling away from you. Like there's something about you that triggers me and stuff. And by bringing that up, or, I had someone who just called recently and she said, hey, my sister-in-law killed herself and I don't know what to say to everyone involved. And I was like, oh, and she said I was going to just not say anything. And I was like, well, I don't think, and she said, well, I wrote to her and she didn't write back and it's been a week. And so I let her know, like, hey, when Rick died, I had so many people tell me, like, he's in a better place. And I was like, well, if it's better, let's all go. And then they're like, no, that's not what we mean. So, like, people were, I was challenging what they're saying. But the people that came at me and the people who didn't know what to say and said, I don't know what to say to you, this is really shitty. Like, just basic things that you'd be like, oh, my God, but that's not helpful. Those were the most powerful things that someone did because they validated where I was at. They understood and identified how hard it was or how like dark the time was, and they just honored the space I was in and they were with me. And then what a lot of people did and what I told her to do was just keep writing to her, send her a message every day. I said, people sent me so many messages and I will be honest, I did not respond to one person, not one. And I said, but I can tell you every single person who messaged me over and over and over because they made an impact and they kept me alive. There's a huge thing called like suicide survivor's guilt. And it's like, if you lived and you felt like you didn't know someone was hurting and stuff, then you don't believe that you like deserve to be there. So I was so just consumed in this darkness and I didn't know what to do. And then I would see these people's messages and every single time I was like, oh, like if I was crumbling, they would restore me and bring me back.
Right.
And so by just reaching out, and I told her, I said, just send a message every day that like you're thinking, and this is, you can't imagine how hard it is and what she's going through, and that you don't know how to help, but you're willing to help in any way possible. And if she knows of something that will help, that's awesome. Right now, all you can do is keep writing so she knows you're on her mind. Because, I said everyone else's lives continue on and hers will never be the same. And you guys, all the people that come around during the time of trauma, leave. And then that person's alone learning how to navigate by themselves and they don't know what to do and they don't have a support structure. And I said, just keep writing. And you can let her know, if you ever want me to stop writing, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to do so. And like by showing up, by just being there. So, and being willing to just be in the discomfort. Like if you judge me or you said something or like sometimes I don't get invited places because it will be a big food event and they just don't want me to have to sit around people eating food. That's my choice to say yes or no to going. But not being invited almost makes it worse because I was like, oh, so they just decided because I can't eat food that it's uncomfortable for them. And then and when I confront them on it, I'm like, oh, not that I needed to be invited to the event, but just so you know, if it ever comes up where you have an event around food, like I do want the invite. And if I'm having a tough day or like I don't want to smell like the delicious, whatever it is, all the food, smells
all of
delicious.
the foods.
All of the foods. But if I don't want to be around it, then I can make a choice. And then again, empowering myself through my situation to just be like, oh, I don't, it's not a thing for me to do today. Like, it doesn't feel good. But when someone just disconnects you, and then I'll say like, what? Why did you not want to do it? Or like, and they'll be like, no, I wanted to invite you. I just always feel so bad that you can't order it. And then I sit there thinking about how bad I feel that you can't eat or that you're sick. And then and then it takes them out of their experience. So, and there's so much more. And if you could just talk, like if you were just willing to have a conversation and let me know what it feels like, or why you don't want to invite me, or why something's coming up, or like why you resist if I did a live and you like, and it triggered you, just speaking into those uncomfortable conversations, asking questions, getting clear, because what we do is we create our own reality for what's happening. And it's someone else's complete different lens they're seeing the world through. You were drinking so many different liquids. What's that weird one that looked slightly like Monster? Like that's, I am so impressed with you. I'm really impressed. What a transformation, Chris Burns.
It's because I have a new woman in my life who's kicking my butt to be healthy.
Well, I like her. I need to be her friend. But yeah, so I mean, just doing that, to be compassion, all it takes is a choice to have a different awareness.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to choose to like, okay, my initial reaction is this. And now I'm going to take that initial reaction. I'm going to challenge it. And then, what you can do if what you're challenging and being this different, compassionate way doesn't feel good to you, cool, go back to how you were being. Because you don't need to you don't need my approval, but why not try it on? Why not try on a way of being where like you have a reaction. It's like, okay, no, wait, I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to be in that space. I'm going to now like see what's possible if I try to come through this from a different way where I can understand them better, or I can grow. Because there's certainly people that I've tried to understand more, and it still doesn't feel better. But I tried it. And then if it doesn't work, go back to how you were. But if we don't let someone if we don't let someone ask us an uncomfortable question and we're not willing to ask them, then we're never going to shift. And then what happens is people like me, who when I was 12 in a hospital bed and I buzzed for the nurse one time and she came in and was like, and that's all she did. She sighed, like the simplest thing. And it had probably had nothing to do with me. Like I'll never know. And I decided in that moment, oh my God, I'm broken, I'm damaged, I'm a burden, I'm taking away from her life. She probably had someone else's room to be in. She hates me. She doesn't want to be here. Health insurance doesn't want to cover my stuff. My mom and dad are stressed out. Like I created a billion beliefs from that one coach, Nurse Jane. I remember her. From her one deep sigh, I created how much my life was just a massive burden on everyone. And then I was like, okay, from this moment forward, I'm only going to make people laugh and smile. And then when people would come visit me in the hospital and see me with all these tubes, and they would leave crying. And I was like, oh shoot, so I'm not doing a good enough job. So then I went even deeper with more laughter and humor. And then I created I created an entire life as a performer and a comedian and an improviser. Like I was that committed to never letting anyone hurt or feel pain or anything in my world, just to, instead of address what felt weird. But I mean, I was 12 and my parents were at work. So at 12, I didn't have the self-advocate skills to be like, hey, Nurse Jane, like when you sighed, that just made me feel this way. Like, did something come up about you coming in my room? Is it just a long shift as a nurse? Like, but I didn't have that ability back then. But why not raise that awareness? Because then look what I carried. Like for decades, I carried that one belief from one woman's sigh. We're like, I sigh all the time. And then I'm like, oh my God, imagine if that just made an impact on someone.
Yes.
And you don't realize it.
Yes.
And so now, when I don't ever talk on the phone when I go through a register because I think it's incredible. And I'll be like, I'll call you back. And I hang up. And then I ask the people, how's your day? How's your shift going? Like, do you get off soon? Do you have plans after? Like, what are you celebrating today? And I really get in that space with them and let them know, because I know how powerful not speaking and not offering an experience and not letting them know that I see them is. And if they're uncomfortable with me being so loving, then that's theirs to work on too. Like, and that's for me to not step out of my loving, love bomby ways to please other people. So like we both still have something to come up with.
Yeah, and your self-expression of love could be the one thing that triggers them to discover that they were being ran by it. You know, it could be that the straw that broke the camel's back that got them to actually see what wasn't serving them. Because up until that point, it could have just been like these little minor things that didn't quite tip the scale. But your full-blown self-expression could be that one piece of self-expression that they're like, ugh, and they get triggered, and then they like look at it later and they're like, I kind of liked it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So that's how it's just like all it takes is a thought. If everyone who's like listening just did one thing and the only thing was to think about being more compassionate, not even acting on it, but just to think about, and in every situation, if I was more compassionate in this moment, what would it look like? And they don't even have to act on it. They've already made a shift. They've already interrupted their mindset pattern and then have the ability to go a whole new way because of that. You know, so like just in that one moment is a pattern interrupt, and then what can you create from that space?
Well, I love what you said about if you get triggered, if you're uncomfortable by someone, literally just like have that thought. What would it be like to say, there's something I resist about you? And then say it. There's something I resist about you. I don't know what it is. Right.
And it's crazy because, well, then it will be people like, there's something you can learn from them. You can grow yourself. You can grow them. And instead we get like, well, I don't want to upset them. Right. But then resisting them is going to upset them because they're like, the people feel it. Like I'm a Reiki healer, and I'm not talking like even energy work like I do. Just energy, just reality of being your human. You know if something's going on with someone. So why not just confront it and deal with it? And then the fact that you say it to the person means they mattered enough that you cared to confront what's going on. And that, like, you know, like if you called me up and we're just like, hey, I'm really resisting you, and that's why I have, cool, like let's like dig into it. Let's figure this out, because that means that I mattered enough in your life and had enough of an impact for me to come up and for it to upset you that there was an out of balance. And balance is something that I value. So it's huge, because then it's like, wow, you're not only are you addressing your stuff, you're doing it in a way that's something I value, and look what we have together and look what we can build. And then the example by like confronting that is what's the example for every other relationship and thing in the world, whether it be family or friends or work or strangers. Like that's an example of what's possible then for everyone else to do. And like we didn't crumble and fall apart. We actually got clear and we grew and we like know what's going on. And so it's just this massive ability to grow in a way that's beautiful, but it's all in a place that's coming from uncomfortableness. Like people think because we do the work that we do, and I don't know if like your friends and say this, but my friends a lot of times will be like, oh my God, but you love to talk about like the hard stuff. And I was like, I don't love to talk about it. I definitely still have my heart races. I'm nervous to hear responses a lot. You know, like I had someone in the past that like a past partner that I had to confront about a porn addiction and like that I found out about and stuff. And that felt horrible because I had to own up into the reality that like they chose that over me and like that. And I had to own that. That is the last conversation I wanted to admit to or own. But I'm a stand for living my greatest possible self.
Yes!
And that came naturally. But I'm a stand for living in that space. So I'm not going to not have a difficult conversation just to avoid the uncomfortable emotions, the looking like a mess, any of that. I'm a stand for you living into your full potential and for me. And if that means both of us need to level up in our friendship or our like business relationship or whatever these things are, then I'm going to have the conversation for that. Because I'm not going to sit here and know something happens and then I'm not going to make it to another day and have regrets. So like by speaking up, I'm owning me and my alignment to my truth, but I'm holding the utmost respect for the people I'm speaking to. And that's a gift. Like I care so much about you that like when you did that live a while ago, I like grabbed my phone and I don't even know, it could have been in the middle of the night and messaged you. And I was like, yes, like, hell yeah, that was everything I've ever waited to hear from you. Like, and I let you know immediately because that's who I hold you to. And that's like what I see. And I know I don't like see you a lot and things like that, but you are someone that I respect and hold dear to my heart. And when I like when a love bomb gets a grip, she doesn't let go. Like you are in my life forever, whether or not you want to. That sounds so scary, but it's true. And so
I love you. You're the best.
but like, so having that, and it's like, if I'm going to fight for you to live, and then even if we did the whole discussion and you completely disagreed with what I thought was like a greater purpose for you, cool. Then I have the awakening and awareness that, oh, I was misreading something, and how awesome that you can now grow me as a coach. So when I'm working with my other clients, I can also have a different idea of perspective. So like when we speak up, it's not just speaking up to release something. Like it's speaking up to level up, to like play bigger, to live in our truth, and to confront our own way of thinking. And like, I only know as much as I know from this moment, but what do I know in the next moment? Whatever you teach me.
Wisdom. Freaking wisdom.
Best day ever.
Best day ever. I love it. Katie, you are a freaking stellar superstar. I love it. Every moment with you is just really profound, and anyone who's around you is blessed with such a unique perspective. And that's what we were focusing on today, is shifting that perspective to create more happiness, love, being present in life, a fulfilled life. And that's who you are everywhere. And I really acknowledge you as that, just like this bundle of joy. Someone was talking earlier today about, kids, when they come out, they're a bundle of joy. Mm-hmm. You embody joy. You embody being that childlike self everywhere, and healing people with that, and reminding us about who we really are.
Yeah, that's the best place to be, is like with the wisdom of a wise soul, but with the playfulness of a child. And so it's not childish, it's childlike. And that is the place that is like where I'm rooted, and I grow and blossom from.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Awesome.
Thank you for having me on.
Yes. Anything else you want to share about what you're creating this year, or things that you're focusing on, things you want to invite people to?
Happycatastrophe.com is my podcast. And so the next episode will be out on Thursday.
How many episodes are you at now?
There is a hiatus, and this episode's all about why, so you'll figure it out. So not that many. And which is great. So if you weren't tuned in before, you only have a few to catch up on. Yeah, we found the perk. So that will be back out. And then now it's in like committed action moving forward, and everything is done, and they'll be released and stuff. There was a minor breakdown, personally. Yeah. So, and I wanted to do it from the right place. So I took a break, and now the episode coming back is actually my coach that I have. Came here and we recorded it together, and he confronted me on why I disappeared from it. Wow. That was a difficult conversation, but I knew if I tried to do the episode alone, I was like worried I wouldn't get myself to go there, or it would be too emotional and I would like flop all over. So it's like a 35-minute episode, really like fast and condensed, but powerful. So happycatastrophe.com. KatieLasky.com is my site, and then just find me on Facebook and chat me up. And I love people, and I love connection, and I'm willing to have difficult conversations. I wouldn't say I necessarily love them all, but yeah, that's all. And then inviting everyone to do an act of compassion and somehow share it to us. You included. Vegas needs a lot more love. A little less partying, a lot more love.
Something I heard that I met with a guy yesterday. He's like a marketer, very spiritually wise as well. Because he came to Vegas and he saw it as Sin City. And he said he was hating it. And then one day he woke up and he's like, it's not Sin City, it's the sacred city. And it's up to me to transform that. And it's up to me to see who am I hanging around. I'm not going to hang around the people who make me think it's Sin City and hate this place. I'm going to hang around the people who make me think it's Sacred City, and continue to grow that tribe and that community. And I was just like, damn, that's awesome.
Yeah, you nailed it. Amazing. So powerful. Thank you for sharing that with me, and I will talk to you soon. And I love you and appreciate you, and thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Have the best day ever. Best week ever.
Best
Love Bob.
Best year ever. And get back to California.
All right. I'll see you soon, okay?
Bye.